Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Anyone here for the first time? No? Good. So, this evening, we're going to examine something called wishing love. Wishing love. So, in general, there's three types of love. The first is affectionate love, like you're meeting a long-lost relative, and you have a special feeling. You have a feeling of affection. Just the sight of them affects your feeling of happiness and peace. And then, because you have this mind of affection, you cherish the other person. So there's this kind of cherishing love. So you want to help them find their happiness and their freedom, and you want to take care of them. So you cherish them. But the most powerful is the mind of wishing love. It comes from the realization that although everyone is seeking happiness, every living being is seeking happiness, hardly anybody is finding real happiness. When I say real happiness, I mean happiness that arises from minds of wisdom and compassion. And so it's minds of inner peace that arise from a spiritual practice. Most of the time we're looking externally for happiness and peace. Are we not? No? Are we not? Yes. We want to accumulate stuff. We want to get the next best thing. We want an iPhone 16, or we're not happy with an iPhone 12, and so on and so forth. And so we're constantly looking for nice things to look at, nice things to listen to, nice music, nice things to smell, nice things to taste, nice things to touch, and nice things to think about. And so we try to arrange our external world, and then we find it never seem to find satisfaction. It's one of our kind of basic problems that we never seem to find satisfaction. Do we? Do we? If you find satisfaction, it's almost like as soon as we get something, as soon as we feel we have a wish, and as soon as we fulfill that wish, then we want something else. And then we get the next thing, and then we want something else after that. It's like we never feel satisfied. Liverpool win the Premier League, was it? Yeah. We want them to do it again next year, and the year after that, and so on and so forth. So we're always striving for something extra, because we never find that experience of peace and happiness. There's always something that we have to investigate around the corner. So that's a deep problem for us and for all living beings. So when we understand this, then we develop when we understand that it's the same for everybody else, then we want other people, if we want other people to be truly happy, then we have to help them to overcome this view, and we have to help them to engage in a spiritual journey, a spiritual practice. It's not that difficult, really. So we'll begin with liberating prayer, then we'll do a meditation, then we'll get into wishing love.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dharma flourish forevermore.
And so we can meditate. Sitting in good meditation posture, you can put the back of your right hand in the palm of your left and raise the tips of your thumbs so they touch together gently. And just relax your hands into your lap. You may gently close your eyes and close your mouth. And so you breathe just naturally through the nostrils. For a few moments, just watch the rhythm of your own breathing. Don't try to speed it up or slow it down. Just watch your own rhythm. When our mind becomes free of the turbulence of distracting thoughts, then our mind can become still. And from the stillness of our own mind will naturally come a deep feeling of peace and contentment. Perhaps our problem is that we have many distracting thoughts, and so it's difficult to allow our mind to become still. But perhaps we can accomplish this by just imagining that the whole world outside just dissolves into empty space. So if you bring to mind an image of the whole world, and then imagine it begins to dissolve into empty space from the edges inwards. So you notice that great oceans begin to disappear, whole continents, great cities and populations, great mountain ranges begin to disappear. And so the whole earth is gradually dissolving into empty space. From the edges inwards. And it keeps happening until all that remains is this city. As if the city itself is suspended in empty space. And then even the city begins to disappear. First the docks, then the great buildings, the streets, the houses, the parks, the schools, the shops, the hospitals, everything disappearing into empty space until all that remains is this room. Imagine the room suspended alone in empty space. And then even the room begins to disappear. First the ceiling, all the statues, and the walls, all the furniture, everyone else in the room. And then even the floor and the chair on which you're sitting. So that all that remains is you, your body and your mind. So again, bring your mind to watch the rhythm of your breathing. And you may notice a feeling at the tip of your nose. Cool as you breathe in, warm as you breathe out. If you can find that feeling, just allow your whole mind to relax into that feeling. As if your mind and the feeling are mixing together, like water mixing with water. So there is no gap between your mind and the feeling. Your mind is the feeling, and the feeling is your mind. Cool as you breathe in, warm as you breathe out. You may realize that your mind may have become still. And perhaps from this stillness comes a deep feeling of peace and contentment. So become aware of any feelings of peace and contentment that you have. You created them, and you can do this again anytime. So when you arise from meditation in a few moments, bring with you any feelings of peace and contentment that you generated by allowing your mind to become still. So now you can begin to relax your concentration, and when you're ready you can arise from meditation. So there's a very beautiful chapter in this text, How to Transform Your Life, which you can have as a digital download for free. Or if you prefer a hard copy, you unfortunately have to purchase a hard copy. But we can help you with that. So how do we develop wishing love for all living beings? First of all, we have to realize the condition they're in. Although they long for happiness, as I said earlier, they're looking in the wrong place for happiness. And essentially, everything that they enjoy is not a real source of happiness. All the things you enjoy are not real sources of happiness, like ice cream, chocolate, vacations in the sun, and so on, walks in the park, listening to nice music, not real source of happiness. And Buddha showed, and Buddha taught that if we increase the causes of what we call happiness, eventually they turn to problems. Eventually, increasing the causes of happiness will turn to suffering. You know, if you think of your best friend, your significant other, if you had to spend 24 hours a day with them, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, you soon realize that spending time with this important person in your life had become a real source of suffering. Yeah, no, this not happen. You want a few days, just give me a few days off, or just go on holiday or something. I'll help and pay for your holiday. Just off you go. And it's the same. If things that we enjoy, the more we have of them, eventually they turn to suffering. The food we eat, we enjoy food, we enjoy other things like alcohol and etc., etc. But the more we have of it, eventually it turns to suffering and problems. But suffering is not like that. And the more the causes of suffering we have, never seems to turn to happiness. You can bang your head on the wall by accident, and you keep doing it. It never turns to happiness. It's just always a cause of suffering. So it's like there's some issue here. We're not finding lasting, real, pure happiness, even from the things that we normally enjoy. They give us temporary pleasures, but that's all. And this sense pleasure is not a real source of happiness, because happiness is just inner peace. Happiness is inner peace. No matter how many ice creams we have, it's not going to stimulate inner peace. You can try. Well, I've tried myself. It doesn't. So. And not only that, even if we were to get the things that we wanted, our enjoyment from it wouldn't last. I'll just read some things. But actually called this changing suffering. Worldly enjoyments such as eating are not real causes of happiness. And this implies that the pleasure that comes from worldly enjoyments is not real happiness. And then just as a true cause of suffering can never give rise to happiness, so a true cause of happiness can never give rise to pain. If something was a true cause of happiness, it would never be painful. It would never give us a problem. And everyone who had any of it would always experience happiness. Can you think of anything like that? That is always a true cause of happiness? And the more you have of it, never causes pain, and anyone who has any of it will always find some happiness. You got anything like that at home? In your back pocket? Somewhere where it's hidden? The only thing that will not cause you problems is practicing Buddhist teachings. And the more you practice Buddhist teachings, the happier you become. And this is true happiness and true inner peace. But everything else, is never going to cause you pain. all you're going to experience is more joy and happiness, because it's the truth. Buddhist teachings are the truth of who we are, the truth of our existence, the truth of how we relate to other things and other people in our world. So if Buddha is teaching the truth, and we put this truth into practice in our own life, then we can experience the joy and happiness and peace that millions of people who have gone before us have experienced too, who have followed the same spiritual journey. In samsara, we never reach a point when we can say, now I am completely satisfied, I need nothing more. Do we ever feel like that? I need nothing more? Yes? No? Yeah. This is because we're always seeking something external. You know, I think part of the reason for this is that we tend to think of ourselves as physical beings. We think mainly about our body, our physicality and our physical nature, and the physical experiences that we have. So we rely upon our sense awarenesses, our sense of sight and ears, our sense of smell, taste and touch. We rely upon our senses mainly for sources of happiness. But it says they're not true sources of happiness, because true happiness comes from our mind. It's inner peace. And like I said, no amount of these external things that we use to pleasure, to find pleasure from our senses, no amount of these things is going to really change our mind. What is really going to change our mind is developing this, following Buddha's instructions, pacifying our own mind, removing the causes of suffering from our own mind, removing all the delusions like anger and jealousy and uncontrolled desires, removing these from our mind, practicing other minds like patience and love and consideration and pure moral discipline that is always holding ourselves back. We never want to cause hurt or harm to anyone else. And we're always looking for an opportunity to bring benefit to other people. And if we've made commitments to engage in the spiritual path, we try to keep these commitments. And so if we do this, I'm not saying you have to forsake all pleasures, never eat, never have anything more to eat, or never have anything more to drink, and never ice cream again, ever. I'm not saying that. But don't rely upon these things as a source of happiness. Make sure that every day you put time into improving your mind. Make sure every day you become a little bit more considerate for other people. Make sure you become a little bit more loving, more cherishing of others. And in the process, you become less cherishing of yourself. All of our delusions, all our anger and jealousy, etc., comes from just thinking we are so important. My happiness is so important. That's how we normally think. But that thought is just the cause of all our problems, because as I say, it leads to delusions, leads to anger, and when our wishes are not being fulfilled, it leads to jealousy when we see other people being happy, and it leads to uncontrolled desires for things that essentially have no meaning and cannot provide us with the pure happiness that we long for. But if we take time to spend with our own mind, then we will find peace and happiness. We will be able to find stillness in our own mind. Not only is worldly pleasure not true happiness, but it also does not last. People devote their lives to acquiring possessions and a circle of friends, but when they die, they lose everything. All they've worked for suddenly disappears, and they enter their next life alone and empty-handed. Again, a part of the problem is we don't think about next life. But if we come to think of ourselves as a spiritual being who happens to have a body, and understanding that this body will deteriorate and be finally finished at some point, it could be today. We could have a big accident today. We could be engaging in something that we think is so enjoyable, and suddenly we die. We might think, I think I'll go parachute jumping today. And your parachute doesn't open. So what you thought was going to be very pleasurable doesn't work. And so, if we understand that we're a spiritual being, we can understand that the only thing we're taking with us into our next life, because our spiritual being doesn't end, even our physical being ends, but our spiritual being, our mind, doesn't end. It just continues into its next life and finds a different body. So everything that we've thought was a source of happiness, we just leave behind. We can't take it with us. And so the only thing that we take with us is our mind. And if we haven't made much effort to find inner peace from our own mind, then maybe we're taking a mind with no causes of happiness into our next life. Maybe we haven't practiced moral discipline. The cause of having a human life is the practice of moral discipline. So you have a human life right now, I think, unless you're one of these aliens. You have a human life right now, but that has arisen because the mind that you had in a previous life was practicing moral discipline. And so when that mind came into this life, you had this fortunate rebirth as a human being. You didn't take rebirth as an animal, or worse. So you have this fortunate condition that you're human, you can have the abilities to understand and the abilities to practice, and you live in a society where it is possible to practice. In many societies it's not. You weren't born into a refugee camp or into a war situation, and so you have fairly comfortable lives, and you are able to maintain your health to some extent and engage in spiritual activity if you want. Many people who are born human don't have that opportunity. So think of yourself as very fortunate and don't waste your time. Because in some ways, because we have this good fortune now, maybe we have a responsibility to become the best we can be for the benefit of other people who don't have the same good fortune. So they long to form deep and lasting friendships with others, but in samsara, this is impossible. The dearest lovers will eventually be torn apart, and when they meet again in a future life, they will not recognize each other. We may feel that those who have good relationships and have fulfilled their ambitions in life are truly happy. But in reality, their happiness is as fragile as a water bubble. Impermanence spares nothing and no one. In samsara, all our dreams are broken in the end. So if we're dependent upon fulfilling our dreams from worldly concerns, all our dreams will be broken. Impermanence and change is the natural condition of our whole existence. We're changing moment by moment, and in both a gross sense. So the person we are right in this moment is not the same person that we were 10 years ago. But also the person we are in this moment is not the same person who came in half an hour ago. You're a different person already. Your body's changed and your mind has changed, and there's nothing left. There's nothing else other than those two. You know, some people will say, well, I have a soul, and that's permanent. But actually, the soul, if it's anything at all, is just part of your mind. And Buddha says the end of collection is dispersion. The end of rising is falling. The end of meeting is parting. We will all be parted from each other at some time or other. And the end of birth is death. So, and then it goes on, the nature of samsara, this cycle of impure life, is suffering. In this impure life we will never experience pure happiness unless we engage in pure spiritual practice. Buddha compared living in samsara to sitting on top of a pin. No matter how much we try to adjust our position, it is always painful. Another analogy is like samsara is like living inside a thorn bush. You know, on one side we feel pain because the thorns are sticking into us, and we think, well, if I go to the other side, I'll be free of these thorns. But then there's thorns on the other side. There's thorns everywhere we try to adjust our positions. Do you ever notice this? Or are you not paying attention? Pure happiness comes from wisdom, which in turn comes from practicing pure spiritual teachings. This inner peace is pure happiness because it comes from wisdom, not from worldly enjoyments. If we have deep knowledge, understanding the great benefits of pure spiritual practice, pure in this sense means free from worldly concerns. So we engage in spiritual practice because it's the best thing we can do. I don't say you have to give up your work, your day job, or give up your friends, but you create some time in your life for pure spiritual practice, and you change your attitude, the way you think about your work, your daily chores, and your relationship with your friends. There are many levels of pure happiness. Of all of these levels, the supreme is the happiness of enlightenment. So if our mind becomes completely pure, free from all delusions and free from the residue of these delusions or the imprints, then with this pure mind, the world that appears to us is just the nature of purity. Everything we're experiencing, everything that's appearing to us, is just generating feelings of joy and happiness. And it's the same for everybody else. If everyone you know, in your whole family and all your friends, your acquaintances, if they were to engage in spiritual practice, if they were to do this and make great advances until they became enlightened, fully enlightened, they get rid of all their delusions and they just have minds that's filled with wisdom and compassion, they too would experience incredible happiness and peace. And so, as we go from affectionate love through the mind of cherishing love, and we begin to cherish more and more people, and then we realize that although they long for pure happiness, they never seem to find it because they're looking in the wrong place. And all the pleasures they have, eventually they turn into suffering and problems. And so if we realize this, and we care for other people, we come to realize that the best thing we can do for them is to enable them to find pure and lasting happiness and peace. Pure, lasting inner peace. It's the best thing we can do for other people. So when we attain enlightenment, or when you attain enlightenment, I'm not saying if, I'm saying when you attain enlightenment, that's what you want to do. You want to help everyone you know, everyone you see, and everyone you think about. You want them to find their way to pure, lasting inner peace too. And you'd be prepared to do whatever it takes to give them that happiness and peace. Even if it meant giving away all your own happiness that you've created by your own spiritual journey and all your potential for happiness, because you care so much about them. You'd be prepared to do anything, to give away everything. So, wishing love is also immeasurable love, because merely through meditating on wishing love, we will receive immeasurable benefits in this life and in countless future lives, even if our concentration is not very strong. Based on Buddha's teachings, the great scholar Nagarjuna listed 8 benefits of affectionate love and wishing love. By meditating on affectionate love and wishing love for just one moment, we accumulate greater merit or good fortune than we would do by giving food 3 times every day to all those who are hungry in the world. So meditating on wishing love. And the reason for this is that this is something extremely pure that we're giving to other people. We can give other people food, sure, but when they die, all that food has no impact upon them, has no meaning for them. But if we give other people love, it has great meaning for them. You know, there's this story of Angulimala. You know, Venerable Geshe-la has written 4 books for children. And the first one is about a serial killer. And the serial killer is called Angulimala. Angul means finger. And mala is like a rosary, a string of beads. And so Angulimala had been told that if he wanted to become very powerful, he could do so by killing other people. Then he would take on their power. And so he'd already killed 999 people, and he wore the fingers of many of them around his neck like a rosary. So that's how he got his name. And anyway, he wanted to kill Buddha Shakyamuni. And so this story comes from the time of Buddha. So he sought him out, and then he chased after him, but it seemed like the harder he ran after him, the further Buddha disappeared into the distance. But eventually Buddha stopped and turned round and allowed Angulimala to catch up with him. And he said to Angulimala, "Why don't you stop? Why don't you stop creating your own unhappiness?" And he just spoke to him with a gentle voice and a loving voice and a loving manner. And Angulimala just broke down. His heart just broke open. No one had ever spoken to him with such love. And so he put down his axe and took off all his, took off his clothes and put on robes and became a very close follower of Buddha after that. It's the power of this mind of love. It heals so many problems, not just for oneself, but for other people too. And other people, when I first met Geshe Kelsang Gyatso, it was with a group of Scottish students who our teacher had arranged for us to meet with Venerable Geshe in one of the meditation rooms at Manjushri. And his feeling of love was something palpable. It was almost physical. You could feel it. And coming from him, he didn't have to say very much. You just understood. You experienced that very powerful love from another living being. Anyway, this is why Nagarjuna is saying, by meditating on affectionate love and wishing love for just one moment, we accumulate greater merit or good fortune than we would do by giving food 3 times every day to all those who are hungry in the world. Meditation on affectionate love and wishing love leads us and all living beings to the pure and everlasting happiness of enlightenment. Other benefits: we're protected in various ways. We receive great loving kindness from others. We'll be mentally happy all the time. We're physically healthy all the time. We will not be harmed. We'll attain all necessary conditions, and we'll be born in superior Pure Land of a Buddha. So, if you want these benefits, you want to be mentally happy and physically healthy all the time, be born in a Pure Land, Buddha. All that means, the Pure Land is not somewhere else. The Pure Land is in your mind. And Pure Land is just what appears to a pure mind. If your mind is pure, then you're in a Pure Land. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just sit where you are and be at home in a Pure Land. So, shall we meditate on wishing love then? So, last week we meditated on compassion and particularly the practice of taking on the sufferings of others. In this meditation we're going to give away our happiness because we're going to transform ourselves into a wish-fulfilling jewel. A jewel that fulfills all the wishes for all living beings to find real, pure happiness. So again, sitting in good meditation posture. For a few moments, just watch the rhythm of your breathing. And imagine that you're sitting very peacefully in a large space, and you're surrounded by your friends and relatives of this life. And beyond them are your other acquaintances. And beyond them, again, all gathered around you, are other living beings that you've never met. You just know that they exist. And even animals and insects and so on, all living beings are appearing in a human form. So all these living beings are gathered all around you. And you begin by focusing your attention on those who are closest to you, your close friends and relatives. And you ask yourself the question, how are they? And you see that though they long for pure happiness, they never seem to be able to find it. All they find is temporary pleasures and changing suffering. And you contemplate, because I care so much about these people. I will give them all my happiness and my potential for happiness. And when you have this mind of wishing love, as if your body transforms into a beautiful, wish-fulfilling jewel, and your body radiates pure light from every pore of your body. And it spreads outwards and it touches those who are closest to you. And this light is a manifestation of your mind of wishing love. You wish every one of these people to find real inner peace and happiness and contentment because you care for them. And so this light radiates from your body and spreads outwards and touches all your friends and relatives. As soon as this light touches them, all their wishes for pure happiness are fulfilled instantly. Really imagine this happening, light radiating from your body, touching those who are closest to you. And instantly they find real, lasting inner peace, and this is permanent. they experience immeasurable joy. And then you turn your attention to your acquaintances, and you realize they too long for pure happiness, but they never seem to find it. All they find is temporary pleasures and changing suffering. And you think also, because I care about these people, I want to give them all my happiness and my potential for happiness. So again, light radiates from your body. And spreads outwards, gradually touching every one of your acquaintances. Really imagine them being transformed. All their wishes for pure happiness are fulfilled, and they experience immeasurable joy. Joy without measure. And then finally you turn your attention to all those you've never met. But you just know that they exist. It's like an ocean of humanity stretching over the horizon all around you. And so again, from your own mind of wishing love, your body radiates this light outwards. It radiates wishing love and gradually spreads outwards to every one of these living beings. And they too experience immeasurable joy because they're longing for pure happiness and inner peace is fulfilled. And now you look around from those people who are closest to you, your close relatives and friends, your acquaintances, and then all these people you've never met. And you realize now they're finding pure happiness and immeasurable joy. And this is what you've accomplished with your own mind of wishing love. Through the power of your own love, you have created this change in every one of these living beings. And when you realize what you've accomplished, you begin to experience joy in your own mind. The joy of having led every living being to a state of immeasurable peace and happiness. The more you contemplate what you've accomplished, the more the feeling of joy grows in your own mind. And with every breath you take, this feeling of joy grows stronger and stronger until it fills your whole being. Your whole being is the nature of joy. And just relax your mind into this feeling. So your mind and the experience of joy become the same thing. The joy that has arisen from your own mind of wishing love. And for the last minute, drive a deep experience of the joy that comes from a mind of wishing love, wishing others to find pure happiness. So try to remember these feelings of pure joy. And you can meditate on again anytime. So now you can begin to relax your concentration, and when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So by meditating, as it said, by meditating on wishing love, we create a vast amount of merit, much more than if we were to feed all living beings 3 meals a day. And so we can dedicate this merit. So just take a moment to think of dedicating the merit you've created for your own enlightenment and the enlightenment of all other living beings. The supreme happiness of enlightenment for yourself and all other living beings. Thank you. So, does anyone have any questions you would like to ask? Next week, we're going to combine compassion and love into the amazing practice of taking and giving. It's like practicing being an enlightened being. Because if you were enlightened, that's what you'd be doing all the time, taking away other people's suffering, giving them happiness instead. Wouldn't that be a good way to spend your time? Shall we finish? Thank you so much. Thank you.